Evening Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest opposition preview show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Following our 2-0 dismantling of the Roars at the Select Car Leasing Stadium, we're back to home comforts under the Dean Court lights on Wednesday night against the Preston side, who sit 19th but are only 6 points away from the playoffs. Before I do welcome on my special guest, here is a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out a little bit more about what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, to preview this game, it is a pleasure to welcome on a special guest who featured on our Harry Redknapp interview, the lead writer of the Football Accumulators page, and more. It is a pleasure to welcome back onto the show, Jack Goodwin. How you doing, Jack? Good to see you again.
I'm all right, thank you. I've never had an introduction like that. I feel quite good about myself now.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. So, since we last spoke to you, you've been pretty busy. Do tell us a bit about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I've been able to secure myself in a few different roles, and I've just secured a role to become Rochdale's iFollow commentator, which will start in two or 3 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to starting that, and it's kind of a sort of dream job for me to be able to get paid to commentate on football. It's a really good opportunity.
Excellent stuff, mate. Does that mean that you're going to have to watch Preston games from afar, though, from now on?
Yeah, well, there's going to be 3 commentators, so there's going to be a rota, so 2 of us at a time. So I'll be able to do the odd North End game and commentate on the odd North End game, but I will have to juggle it about. But as long as I still get to go on my odd away games, and I'm making the most of it now, so I'm going to Bournemouth on Wednesday night. I have no idea why, but I'm going to be there. Hope that we can end your streak, and let's see how we get on.
You did last season, didn't you, Jack?
We did. It was obviously a bit different now. Being sat, I was actually sat right here in this chair watching it, and I was chanting and standing up. I think that was the most I've ever been up for a iFollow game, because we didn't expect that. It was a really good performance, and I remember coming on your aftermath show and just smiling and enjoying how upset you all were.
Well, it's a little bit of a different proposition now, Jack. Let's be honest. So, do you think you could do that again?
No.
Okay, honestly.
No, I mean, anyone could beat anyone in the Championship, and I think if you look at certain underlying stats in terms of like XG, you are overperforming in a sense. But I think you've definitely grown into the season. I think was it the first month or so where you were getting good results, but I saw a lot of Bournemouth fans. So I obviously follow a lot of Bournemouth supporters, and you're saying we're not actually playing that well, but it seems like now it's just clicking. Like you're not just relying on Solanke and Billing to score goals. You're defending brilliantly. I mean, you've got Gary Cahill at the back, haven't you? And then Dominic Solanke up top. So it will be a difficult task for us. But we do like playing the big boys. We do have a decent record over the years against the so-called better teams.
Well, hopefully that record don't come back to haunt us, because, like I say, you played really, really well in that first defeat that you inflicted on us last season. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen again. But you've got a change of manager now as well. Frankie McAvoy is in charge at Deepdale. Is he a popular choice? And what changes have you seen since Alex Neil's departed the club?
He's not very popular at the moment, I think is a fair way of putting it. A lot of North End fans lost a rag after the Blackpool defeat, which was a really disappointing afternoon, really. You know, it's been such a long time since we played our arch rivals, and we kind of limped out to a 2-0 defeat. But the win this weekend, the win yesterday against Luton Town, I think has won him a bit more time. And I think some of the criticism can be harsh at times. I know Preston North End at the moment, we're sitting 19th in the league. It's not brilliant. You know, we've got a decent squad now. You know, we'll be hoping for mid-table at least. But then you look at it, we're actually only 6 points off playoffs, and we're 9 points above the relegation zone. So yes, we might be 19th, but we're much closer to the top half, the top 6 rather than the bottom 3. And in terms of if we've seen any changes, I mean, it was not a controversial appointment. It was, I'm not sure what the word is for it, but it was, I think looking back at it, a lot of people would change how they would go about it now. If you're going to sack Alex Neil, a lot of people said we should have gone in a different direction rather than doing what you did with Eddie Howe and went with his assistant Jason Tyndall, because Frankie McAvoy has been with Alex Neil at Hamilton, Norwich and Preston, and he's changed the formation and certain ways of playing. We perhaps don't press as much as we used to. We sit in a bit more, but I think the main criticism that has come and floated Frankie's way is that there hasn't been you can't really see what style North End have played. We don't know whether we're a long ball team, a pressing team, a passing team. Well, we're certainly not that, but it's you can't really, in certain games, see what's going on. But I have been very much in the minority in terms of, after the Blackpool game, I would say 95% of the fan base would have sacked Frankie McAvoy at that point. I always like to give managers time, and I think there was a certain overreaction. Yes, I was there. It was a really bad performance, but I like to see managers get time. And really, he's only lost, I think, 6 of his 27 in charge. So he's not actually done that bad. So yeah, I think he deserves time to try and see if he can move North End further up the table.
To be fair, I was very similar to yourself when Jason Tyndall was dismissed down here. I think the last 2 games, which I believe was, thinking back, was, well, last 3 was Reading, Derby and Sheffield Wednesday, and we lost all 3 of them. And it was just the changes that he made seemed to be a bit devoid of ideas, I think. Do you think that Frankie's still got, the knowledge? So, and what I mean by that is, when he does make changes, do they make sense, do you reckon?
Certain ones can be. I think the main criticism that has actually probably come his way is his substitutes as well. There's been a lot of subbing off strikers for midfielders when we're chasing a goal, or it's been strange, really. And I always find it hard to criticise the manager with the role that I have, like, commentating for the club. So it's a difficult one for me to really come out. I can't come out and say, and I wouldn't anyway, even if I wasn't commentating with the club and have a relationship with the manager, I wouldn't come out and say he's been awful, because I can see what he's working on. And I also think, yes, he's 53, 54, and he's been involved in football for a long time, but it is his first managerial job. So you're always going to have to walk that tightrope for a bit. I mean, the best example is looking at Thomas Frank at Brentford. I think he lost like 10 of his first 12 in charge after he took over from Dean Smith, but the owner saw him through, and now look at him in the Premier League. They're taking it right up to the big boys, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's lots of examples that you can think of around the Championship when chairmen haven't just fired managers straight away, and they've turned out to do a really, really good job. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed for you guys. You know, he is working something out, and I'm sure he will be. Like you say, he's been around the game and under a very decent manager in Alex Neil. What was your opinion of Neil when he left?
I loved him. I really liked him. I
Mm,
mean, we were on a, it had gone stale, and we were on a bad run. But I don't think enough people took into consideration that in January we lost our two best players, which had speculation around them. Obviously, Pearson went to yourselves, and Ben Davis went to Liverpool first, and then we replaced them. And I've seen a lot of people going on about how bad the recruitment has been. I think certain signings have been brilliant. Like in January last year, we signed on loan, but we signed Daniel Leverson and Sepp van der Berg coming in, who are two of our best players now. Ben Whiteman, who I think is an excellent addition. We had Malumbi coming in. We had Ched Evans, who did a decent job. He's out with an injury at the moment. Liam Lindsay, when asked upon, always does a decent job. They're not marquee signings, but they're decent signings. But there was so many. I think there was 8 in January, and you didn't have a bedding in period. You didn't have any friendlies to bed them in, and it was a difficult one. But I always think he was sat with us 16th in the league. I don't think that is shocking enough for a manager to be deserved to be sacked. Yes, we'd been on a poor run, and prior to previous seasons, obviously we had been flying up there. At the end of when we got put into the first lockdown, I think we were 5th in the league. We were looking set for playoffs. So it was a drop off from what we had come to expect under Alex Neil, but I think he's a top Championship manager. I've recommended him to yourselves. Obviously, you've got Scott Parker now, who's an excellent manager, but I think his next job will be in the Championship, and I think if he is backed, he will be able to build a playoff side.
Yeah, most definitely. So Ben Pearson, of course, ever since he's joined us, has done really, really well, and he's fantastic in that running. What do you make of what he's done since he's arrived at Bournemouth?
Obviously, I can only comment from an outsider's perspective because I don't watch Bournemouth week in, week out. But I have been slightly shocked that he hasn't played as much as I'd have expected him to do. I mean, Gavin Kilkenny got injured yesterday, didn't he? And Ben Pearson came on in place of him. I'd have thought Pearson would have been one of the best number 4s, number 6s, whatever you call it, in the league. But you lot seem to love him, to be honest. And you've got a good squad there. So I mean, who plays ahead of him? Phil Billing. He's probably the best centre mid in the league, or he's up there. Ryan Christie's a good addition. So it's a packed midfield, and I think you look at Bournemouth squad now, and you talk about it being a Premier League squad. Really, you can still see the quality that you had 2 years ago in the Premier League. I mean, you had a really good side actually that came down. I was shocked when you did come down. So it's always going to be difficult for a Championship midfielder to be a starter, but from what I've seen, he's done a good job, and I think all of us North End fans are pleased for him.
Yeah, fantastic. Do tell us a little bit more about this Preston side, Jack, and how different is it from last year?
So we now line up in a 5-3-2 formation or a 3-4-1-2 formation, however you look at it, which we rarely saw last year. It was usually a 4-2-3-1 under Alex Neil. It's a bit more direct, I think it's fair to say, especially direct out to. It's really strange, actually. You see a lot of the kicks out from the goalkeeper or the defence going out left, and like our target man is our left wing back, Josh Earl.
Yeah.
He's the tallest player in the team, or tallest forward player in the team. So I think people get quite frustrated at that's like our main style, that we go long to a left wing back who tries to flick it on. But I think different from last time we came to your place, definitely we've now got, in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. He's absolutely outstanding. The saves he made yesterday, he's such a good goalkeeper. His shot stopping is top level. We've got one of the we've got three good, really bright young prospects. Obviously, one of them isn't ours, Sepp van der Berg, who's one of the quickest defenders in the league. Such a lovely lad. I mean, when we lost against Blackpool, most of the players didn't come over, and Sepp came over and was like really sort of like he was apologising, sort of thing. And he's really well liked by the North End fan base. He seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulders. And then the two other are Reese, who's just firing goals, and North End have had it's been a long wait to have a striker that knows where the back of the goal is. But if you get a chance to see his goal from yesterday, he scored from an absolutely unbelievable angle. He strikes the ball so well, and he's almost better when he doesn't have any time. He just kind of snatches at it because he's got that natural instinct to just put it in the goal. When he actually does think about it, he seems to mess it up. And then the other youngster is someone we've not seen much of, Ali Mccann, who we've signed from St Johnstone for 1.5 million, could go to more. And we actually beat Celtic and Rangers to his signature. And he's just... A lot of people said Ben Pearson. Like, I don't think he is Ben Pearson. Like, he's got a lot more energy, and he's like N'Golo Kante. Like, he doesn't stop running. He's always at people's heels. He's just kicking at the heels, getting the ball away. He's quite clean as well from what we've seen. But saying that, we've only seen him in 2 or 3 games, but he looks like a really good talent that in the future, you know, if Northern deal with the contract situation a bit better, you can look to sell on for big profits.
So Frankie McAvoy has made some good signings to replace the players that you lost, of course, and they were 2 big players, Ben Pearson, Ben Davis. What are your hopes for this season?
Coming into the season, it was for a top half finish. I think again I'm in the minority here, but I think we've now got the strongest squad that we've had in the Championship in terms of overall ability. I think our midfield is top 6 standard. I think we've got a brilliant central midfield. Ben Whiteman, Ryan Ledson, Alan Brown, Daniel Johnson, Ali Mccann, Brad Potts. You know, the majority of them could all play a role in top sides. So I think we've got one of the best midfields. Now we've got a good striker that put the ball in the back of the net. And we've also got the workhorse up top, Shawnee Maguire. I actually think we've got a decent set of squad, and I know a lot of people on of the same thinking. But yeah, coming into the start of the season, I was hoping for top half, and I still think that's achievable, to be honest. I think we're only a point or 2 off 12th in the league, so it's definitely achievable for us.
How do you think that you're going to stop us, though? Because I think we're a different pedigree this season compared to the side that you faced last year. How do you actually stop Bournemouth? Because Reading gave it a good go. I've got to be honest, yesterday, what they did was they got in our faces, pressed us for the first 15, 20 minutes. But as we all know, that's unsustainable. Is there a way of unlocking and stopping us?
Well, I'm kind of hoping that we kind of adopt the same play style that we did against Liverpool during midweek, where we actually did really well. In that first half, we could have come in 1 or 2-0 up at the break. We played in a real low block, so we're really deep. So no one couldn't get the ball over our heads. Had to play in the middle, but we had 3 midfield players. Brad Potts has got brilliant legs, and then Ali Mccann and Ryan Ledson were good, strong tacklers, and they just weren't allowing Liverpool's midfield to play. And then on the counter to that, you had Maguire. Was it Maguire? Yeah, Maguire and Barkey up top, so you could just hit them on the counter attack. And I don't know whether that will work, because obviously Liverpool did have their substitute team out, as we did as well. But it might have to be a similar philosophy against Bournemouth. But listen, I don't think many North End fans, well, they shouldn't be, and I don't think many will be going into it thinking, "Oh, we're gonna beat Bournemouth." But if we can get a draw, I think we'll be delighted with a draw.
Where do you think we'll finish?
Where did I have you at the start of the season? I think I had you 4th in the league at the start of the season. The only other team that I've obviously watched quite a bit of Championship football. The only other team that I'd say I'm just as impressed by is Fulham, and I think part of that's just down to their beast of a goal scorer, Mitrovic. So yeah, I think you're probably going to come second up top. I think you and Fulham will go up, as boring as it sounds, and then Your likes of West Brom, Sheffield United will probably get up there, won't they? And then there's going to be a couple poor teams that are going to get it. I think the difference between the Bournemouths and the Fulhams compared to the rest of the team, rest of the league, is quite big. I think there is a sizable gap there. I think you are. I know if you've seen it. I mean, how many teams have gone? Is it 15 games unbeaten now at the start of the season?
Yeah, 15 games unbeaten, 11 wins, only 4 draws. But what's weird about those is one was against West Brom, fair enough, but the other 3 are against promoted sides. So,
and now, what sort of play style do they go against?
Blackpool were very much in our faces. We went 2-0 up. They don't give up. They don't give up, and they've shown some real decent results recently. Of course, they're in the playoffs, which was completely unexpected. As it's Coventry, really. Hull, I thought we played poorly away to them. We could have really put them to the sword. And Peterborough, to be fair, gave us a good game again in our faces, and I think they were able to. Or the other thought is that Reading just ran out of gas, where Peterborough just maybe it was a lower intensity that they were playing at, but it did the job. It meant that they could press us high for longer. Do you think we might still see that from Preston?
What, in terms of a pressing style?
Yeah.
I don't know. Under Alex Neil, I'd have said yes, and I think this is also part of the thinking where people are like, do we want Frankie to stay in charge? Is that under Alex Neil, you always had that hope that you'd go to a Bournemouth on a Wednesday night and win, because he's got that on his CV. He's got two promotions on his CV, and he could beat the big boys and he wasn't scared to take the game to them. There's quite a couple of occasions that Preston North End always got a good result against good teams. Where Frankie, it's a bit different. I mean, this Saturday we saw a decent pressing style, but I would expect it to be more of a sit-off approach, maybe a more of a flat back 5 than a back 3 and a high wing back. So I'd imagine we're going to be camped in our own half.
I've got to press you on this. Prediction time. How do you think it's going to go, Jack?
I've got 3-0 to Bournemouth down.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm not out here criticising them, saying I just think you're a very good team, and I think it's unrealistic to expect us to come and beat you. If we do, I mean, I'll be booking first flight to Benidorm, I'm sure. So.
I think it's going to be tougher than we think. I think, considering our recent performances, after the 20th minute yesterday, I think we ran Reading ragged, and we had a lot more opportunities than they did. And we've dominated. We have dominated games in most part. We've only ever gone so far this season a goal behind against Sheffield United. So I'm thinking it's going to be 2-1. I'm thinking it's going to be 2-1. I think we will concede. And like you say, it's so tight across the league that I think Preston could get right in that mix towards the end of the season. It's just a case of picking up some decent results and moving forwards, isn't it?
What's Mark Travers been like? Because that was the one thing at the start of the season why I didn't put Bournemouth top 2, because he's a young goalkeeper who, he's made a couple of mistakes in previous years, and obviously young goalkeepers. I mean, you trusted Aaron Ramsdale. Look at him now; he's flying. But he was the one reason why I didn't put Bournemouth top 2. I mean, you've got a fantastic team all over, but from what I've heard, he's done all right, hasn't he?
He's done really well away from home. we've not conceded since the Nottingham Forest game, and that was right at the start of August. So that is a phenomenal stat. Really, he should have been beaten yesterday. And to be fair, it wasn't his fault. But the Reading player just can't hit a barn door with a beach ball. So, so no, that was good. But I think he's really grown into his own. He is a good goalkeeper. I can't think of many mistakes that he's made. So yeah, I think he's been a fantastic replacement for Begovic and Ramsdale. And I think he's got a good future ahead of him. He did make a couple of mistakes when he come in, like you say. He did, previously, but so far this season he's been solid, and we've seen the form or this Mark Travers that we saw against Spurs a couple of years back in the Premier League, where he was just phenomenal. He was really good. We thought, where the hell's this guy? And all of a sudden he's put out a performance, out of this world. So yeah, we've got that Mark Travers back, but yeah, hopefully you haven't you haven't cursed him by saying that now.
now, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, if he does, I'm blaming you, Jack. But you'll be quite happy about it, won't you, mate?
You'll see me in the away ends waving.
Yeah. Now, thank you again, mate, for coming on. It's a pleasure as always when you're on this show, and all the very best with Rochdale. All the best to Preston as well. I'm sure Frankie McAvoy will get you firing up the table as well, because it is so tight, and I'm sure you'll get those results to get yourself back up there in the mix.
Yeah, we need them. Thank you very much. Cheers. I appreciate it. I always enjoy it coming on. So anytime.
Always a pleasure, Jack. And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Also, please do check out our most recent interview with the super Steve Fletcher. Also, we've got Effa Cuckoo, Harry Redknapp, also Beth Powney and Andy Bunau. So there's loads of content to watch here. But do remember to hit that subscribe button to be alerted to any videos we do. Until the next one, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.